Central Florida, what's good? It's your boy, Coach Joey.
And this is Even Hands Boxing.
And this is Coach's Corner. We have a very, very special guest. Listen, man, this is a kid I got to know. Man, I've been at least 14 years in the game, so he's been boxing a little before that. But listen, man, huge prospect back in the day coming up. Talent was the man, and still is. We got to give a big round of applause from Antonio Kingdom Vargas is in the house today. So listen, man, Coach's Corner is more of from a perspective of a coach, right? I think we got a lot of podcasts that go on and they talk about a lot of things, but we want to get in the head of what's really in the gym, from fighters, coaches, everybody that's really putting in the work, you know what I'm saying? So this is what we got together, and we're like, man, we got to start bringing in guys and really start talking about boxing. Right. You know, get a little personal, but at the same time, talk about boxing.
Picking the brain. So now, you got me doing my homework a little bit, all right? 125-7. What is that?
Amateur career.
Okay.
Amateur. That was, I started when I was 9 years old, 65 pounds, and just kind of kept going, and it was, I went almost on a 4-year win streak. Just every tournament I went, just winning, dominating everybody in the U.S. And then my first loss to broke that streak was against Shakur Stevenson. So we fought in the finals at a national tournament, I believe it was a youth tournament. He beat me in the finals.
Well, I didn't even know you sparred with him.
Yeah, I fought with him. Yeah, he was 114 back in the days.
You're originally from Texas, though, right?
I was born in Houston, Texas, yeah. I came down to Florida when I was 12.
Okay.
So this
you Florida.
So you started boxing in Texas? Or in Texas?
Yeah. I had my first about 24 fights over there. And then I came over here. I was 24-2 as an
amateur.
Yeah, from like 9 to 10. I was from 9 to 11, and then I came down here when I was 12, and that was one of my coaches' name was Dan Soto. And from there, I was from 12 to 18 with him.
And he taking my questions out of the gate, because I was about to say, who was your first coach? I was going to say Dan, because I heard that you was with Dan. Yeah. Okay, so you started off on there. So you started, I never knew you started in Houston, and then you came. Now, you are Mexican, Puerto Rican, right?
Yeah, my mother, she's Mexican-American. Her grandmother's from Mexico, and then my father is from Bayamón, he's from Puerto Rico.
So you know what they say, my mom's Mexican, so they say we're more Mexican.
Yeah.
I'm Mexican, Puerto Rican, so what are you saying? Yeah, I didn't even know either. Until I was reading last night, I'm like, oh shit, he's exactly what I am.
Yeah. So, as far as your amateur career, man, when you got out here, how long before you was out here before you hooked up with your coach?
It was actually right after I won the Pan American Games in 2015. That's when me and Dan had split up. Actually, I trained myself for the Pan American Games.
Yeah, did you?
I trained myself, and then the other half I went to the OTC because I didn't have a coach at that time. After I won the gold medal, I started training with Well, and he actually helped me get ready for the Olympics. So the qualifiers, I was training with Well, and that's when I started building that relationship with him. That was about mid-2015, end of 2016, and then that's how. Yeah,
because that's where I remember meeting you from was Coach Duell. Mm-hmm. Coach Duell is camera shy, guys. But let me before we move further, let me give this because he deserves his respect.
Let me cut you off for 1 second. I didn't mean to cut you off. We have Coach Willie. This is Antonio's they second. He's here again because Coach Duell is a little shy. He camera shy.
So let me give credit where credit due to both Coach Willie and Coach Duell. When I first got into the game, Coach Duell was one of the first coaches that let me into his gym and started teaching me. I remember the first things, one of the first advice he gave me was, don't take no shit from no fighters. If they don't want to listen, you grab their shit, throw them out the door, and tell them don't come back. And let me tell you something, man, it stuck to me because he's old school, right, and he stands on character and principle. And when people bring his name up, I always give credit to somebody that helped mold me as to a part of a coach that I wanted to be. So, just so you know, Coach, I respect that. All right. So I think that's good because a lot of people don't give that respect. Right. They think people just learn, but no, I learned from him and Coach Rob. Those were the first two guys that were in this area a lot, and both of them, I give that respect to of what we started. So now. As you went to the Olympics, what was that Olympic run?
It was definitely something different, just getting all the exposure. And like I said, I started getting international exposure, going to different countries right after I won the Pan American Games, because I was a heavy favorite to be on the Olympic team.
Correct.
So they had me traveling all these different countries. And then once I won here in the US, I beat everybody to get rank 1 at 114 pounds. Then we had to go overseas and qualify. So even though you got the #1 ranking in the US, you're still not an Olympian. You have to go overseas and place in the top either 1 or top 5 depending on the tournament. So my first qualifier, I lost to a guy that I beat him in the Pan American Games. So I lost my first qualifier the first day.
But you still had another one you could get, right?
I still had the second one, which was my first qualifier was in Argentina. And like I said, I was a heavy favorite to win. I just placed gold in the Pan American Games. I lost my first day, and man, that right there.
How old was you then?
I was 19.
19?
I was 19.
Feeling on top of the world, somebody smack you right now.
Yeah, there was somebody I beat. I just fought the wrong style and just losing the first day. That was the first time I ever lost the first day on a tournament. So every tournament at minimum I'm reaching finals. And that was my first time I experienced losing the first day.
But did it help you? Like, meaning like, because I think it's good for a lot of young fighters to understand. Like, you're hearing a guy that went to all levels as an amateur. Because when you get out to the Olympic and you get out to other countries, a lot of those other countries have a pro style already. They're not too much amateurish like here in the States. There's a little tough, so it's good to hear that even you had it. Hey, it's real out here. This ball game right here.
Yeah, it definitely taught me perseverance. Just to come back and, like I said, every fighter has bad days.
Yep.
You just make the adjustments. And so I lost my first qualifier. Then the second qualifier was in Azerbaijan. I fought 6 days, man. I lost. I was able to place silver, so I lost in the finals. But all I had to do was place in the top 5, and it was that tournament in the second qualifier where I locked in my spot, and I was officially named an Olympian.
So how did you feel when you got that call?
It still didn't hit me until I actually went to Rio.
You went out there?
Once I was there, I'm like, wow, man.
In Brazil.
In Brazil, yeah. There's the atmosphere, just seeing all these, high-level
Whole
athletes.
different world right there.
Yeah, seeing guys like Usain Bolt,
How many times was coach calling you a day?
Every day, man.
He calling you, make sure you on your feet, doing what you're supposed to be doing. But listen, that's what coaches do, man. You guys become an extension of us, and there's no turn off switch for us.
Yeah.
So how was that experience, man? Just being in the Olympics, like you were saying, you've seen all the different athletes, all the NBA players it is, biggest,
It was different, man. That was probably like I'd probably say like within that time frame, that span of just because it was a city and you could not get into the city unless you're a coach or athlete. So one of my coaches on the Olympic team, he was telling me that I think it was like 0.2% of athletes were actually there for that day in that city, like the top level athletes of that the world.
Right.
So just to be a part of that, it was definitely a different experience, and it was just showing me that God has given me the talent, a high level amount of talent where I could use that to glorify Him, and that God had good plans for me just being there. Because as an amateur, that's the highest level.
That's the highest level you can get to.
Is you want to be an Olympian.
You stated that, we'll go back a little bit, during your amateurs, you fought with Shakur. Who else you fight in the amateurs that you could think of? Because I know that was a long while back.
As of now, man, that's probably one of the main guys. I fought a couple of other amateur guys that maybe not too big known as like professionals, but I just remember that Shakur Steven fight, man.
Who was the toughest amateur fight that you could think of?
I think it'd be Shakur, man.
Yeah.
That guy right there,
Owens knows his distance. He knew his distance then.
his timing, his distance, his range control is very hard to prepare for a fighter like that. Has a high level IQ. And that's from him being, young 17, 18.
Yeah, because you older than him, aren't you?
About like a year and a half. So
See how it's coming up together. So now Olympic gets in, you get the phone call. Your family's, I imagine, ecstatic. Everybody's happy. You take the trip out there. This is the first time you're going that far out of the country? Or besides traveling
He went to Argentina.
I went to my first gold medal international was in Ukraine. I was 16.
Oh, wow.
It was a Klitschko tournament. That was my first tournament that I placed gold in. And that was a long flight.
That's around the world, man.
You being so young out there, man. what is the mentality? You know, I know a lot of young guys. You know, they go to tournaments out here. They be running around hotels. They be acting crazy. You know what I'm saying? How do you guys act out? You know, what goes through Antonio's head out there, man? You know, and I would imagine the whole team because.
Like I said, I go there, man. I see it's is work to be done, and I can't rest until I win. So when I'm there, I'm just there. Hey, I gotta rest. Let me sightsee and explore after I win. And stuff like that.
So none of that matters.
None of that matters.
If you lose or you're not doing your job, none of that stuff matters. That's how it is. I think for all of us when we travel for a fight, it's funny because my wife be saying like, "Oh, you're going out and playing." No, it's going out to work, right? But then what happens is you can't enjoy nothing because you're not there to sightsee. You're here to lock in, get locked in for the fight, and everybody's on the same page. So now, the Olympics starts. How's that run in those Olympics?
I won my first day against Brazil. I lost my second fight against Uzbekistan. He actually won the gold medal in my weight class. So the dude he had really good footwork, man.
Yeah.
He beat me the first and second round. I was able to get his timing. I beat him the third round, but by then it was too late.
And that's what's tough about, we always have this conversation when we come out here, and we always talk about, I argue with a bunch of people when they try to tell me it's harder to be an amateur than a professional. And I said, and I'm going to ask you that too. My opinion as a coach, it's not harder because chess and checkers are not the same. Chess, you have to think about what move you're going to make, and that's what a pro is. Yeah. Pros set stuff off, amateurs react. Now, if you probably were in a pro fight, you have more rounds, you were going to be able to catch that rhythm, catch that beat, and then the fight changes. How do you feel about that?
Definitely, I think different fighters have different opinions, but for me, it took me about 2.5 years to get comfortable as a pro because I was never used to staying in the pocket, catching and throwing. I was more just reaction.
Yeah.
I was, 9 years old from almost 20.
Fighting a certain way.
Just 3 rounds, high intensity, boom, boom, boom. And there was very few guys that had the same speed that I had, so that always gave me an advantage.
Yeah.
Because the guy I lost to, he was able to match my footwork and just
timing.
Yeah, it was, like I said, it took me a little longer to catch the rhythm, but by the time I caught it, it was a little too late. But just that transition, it was
tough.
For me, it was. Some fighters.
So you think it's harder to be the amateur or the pro?
It depends, man.
It depends who it is. But that's the same answer. It depends who it is because there's some amateurs that they go through it. Especially that was my example. When guys gotta go fighting overseas. And they away from their family. You're so young. Your mind is so. You can be impressed by.
But I always said, as a pro, it's 365 days a year.
Yeah.
And some guys got to work, and you're a husband, and you're a father, and it's a lot more on your plate. It's a lot more pressure on your plate. When you're an amateur, I always felt like there's no trouble in the world. You just go out there, do the best you can do. Mom and dad are holding down the fort. You know what I'm saying? And that's where I was looking for in that aspect because
definitely from that aspect, I see it as a pro. It is definitely me being a young man, married, having kids.
Different ball games.
Yeah, it's a different ball game from that aspect.
They start seeing what coaches do, right, coach? When they realize we got to go to work all day and we got to come in the gym and coach, then we got to go home and smile for the life. Yeah, a lot of work.
So come back, after the Olympics, you do your Olympic run, man, getting back to the States, man. What goes on after, what goes through your mind there, man? I'm pretty sure all these promoters was at you and everybody's trying to come at, trying to sign you and stuff.
Yeah, definitely a lot of promoters trying to sign me and USA Boxing, they wanted me to stay another 4 years. And I'm like, this is traveling and I was living out in OTC, just getting ready for the Olympics. I'm like, I didn't like that, just traveling so much, man. It's hard. When you're young, you can do it, but they said,
your body just.
Yeah, I was looking to, obviously my wife or boyfriend, girlfriend at that time, but I was looking to get married and start building a family. So I'm like, this.
So you were a young man with an older soul.
Yeah, I kind of
like bring you down a little bit.
I knew what I wanted from a very early age. I was looking to build a wife, build a family, legacy.
Okay.
And that's what I wanted. And as a pro, I was able to. It was more flexible on my schedule. And like I said, I had all these different promoters trying to sign me. And
so what made you choose Top Rank?
Just the Hispanic culture, they have a lot of Puerto Rican fighters. I'm Puerto Rican, I'm Mexican, so I figured they'll probably be the best one for me at that time. So that's what made me want to sign with them.
So now, when that first fight as a pro happened, who were you with as when you started your first fight as a pro?
His name was Tito Ocasio.
Okay, Coach Tito out in Cali, right?
Yeah, I had my first, I think it was like 11 fights with him.
Okay.
As a
Professional?
Yeah, I moved up to Ocala. I was out there training. And yeah, it was almost about 2.5 years I was out there for as a pro.
Okay, so I remember, it's funny how I feel like it always comes in a full circle when you're believing with faith. I feel like God makes no mistakes. Whatever chapters He put, our stories are already written, right? I remember this day like it was last because I actually did the ring run for that card. Okay, it was in Kissimmee. I remember me and Coach Duell was sitting in the front. I was sitting there. We were all about to see Antonio go. I think this is probably one of the biggest pivots in your career, right? Take us back to that day when that fight happened for you.
That was the hardest day of my life, and it wasn't even that day. It's just what happened after that. Being, you know, an Olympian, being with one of the biggest boxing promoters, top rank at the time, and you got all your other friends, all the other Olympians, you know, going up higher and higher. And I was slowly getting up there, and then I took the loss, and that right there resetted me. And it took me about almost 7 years to get to this point where, you know, now I'm a champion, world champion. I'm going to be defending my belt. But man, just that process of 7 years of slowly just climbing myself back up, and just, it was one of the hardest things in life. But looking back in hindsight,
All post happened.
it was part of the process. God used it to strengthen my character, to build my faith, my perseverance. And it just reminds me, it's a verse in the Bible that says, everything works good for those that love God and have been called to His purposes.
Absolutely.
So I love God with all my heart. You know, at first, I boxed because I wanted to be the best. And I'm still going to give my best, but I use more my platform of boxing to glorify the gospel of Jesus Christ. That's what I do it for. And in doing that, I've just seen God's faithfulness over my life and how He's been helping, man. Because if it wasn't for God in my life, there's times I wanted to give up.
Well, look, man, I think your story goes with boxing because why is, in that moment, I think it's fair for all of us coaches like Willie and Coach Duell, all of us that have been around it, we see guys get caught with a bad shot. And the first thing we all say as coaches, can they rebound, right? Sometimes they can. But I think what you're reaching to differently is what not enough people do reach to, which is start talking to him. Help me get through. Because I'm pretty sure the next question I want to ask is, everybody that was there in the locker room when you was there, how many left after that? Maybe not right there and then, but I just mean as a totality in your life.
You know, that's when you really see.
Did you cut that circle a little smaller, or?
I always had a very, you know, small circle, very few friends. You know, at the time, you know, Tito and my other coach Jesse, they're basically the main people in my life that were supporting me, helping me go through everything I was going through. But you know, everybody wants to, you know, take pictures and be your friend when you're champion. Once you lose,
that's when you find out who really loves you.
Yeah, and that all goes away real quick. You know, so.
And I'm pretty sure a phone call came from him, and he wasn't even coaching you out of love.
No, yeah, he was there, man.
Because I remember me and him talking right after it, and I always tell people, and me and Chino talk a lot, and I try to explain to them how close a relationship is with a fighter and a coach. And it's almost like having your own son out there.
It's a father-son relationship.
People don't even understand. I remember my first time when one of our fighters got dropped. It's such a hurt that comes in your chest for them, and you're just like, wow. You know what I mean? So I can only imagine how he felt being not just with your father-in-law too at the time, right?
Yeah, my father, to this day.
So at that point, it wasn't even boxing for him. It was more so love, like, man, is he okay?
So after that loss, you know, taking that loss like that, did you feel you was at the bottom? Did you change your style at all? You know, the way you approach fights from after that?
Yeah, I had obviously, man, like the loss. I think I fought maybe like 8 months after that.
Two times. Get my homework, Antonio.
But yeah, so after that loss, I think it was like the next month, Tom Bracken dropped me. So
that's even more discouraging.
Yeah, so it was. I said that time I didn't have a job. I was just training twice a day full time. After that, I took the loss. I had to get a job just to pay my bills, support my family.
Well, because that was that question too. I think you took a big break for like 2 years, right? 20 to 22, your first fight was back.
Yeah, it was almost 2 years I took off, and just that.
Did that healing mentally?
Yeah, mentally, like I had gave up. I told myself I'm not boxing no more. And what happened was, I was working at this warehouse job, and I'm like, okay, I'm a normal person, 9 to 5 job, and I'm like, hey, this ain't too bad. You know, I get to see my family every day. I was happy for about the first 6 months. After that 6-month period hit, like this realization came into mind. I'm like, if I gotta do this every day for the rest of my life,
I'm gonna go nuts.
I'm like, I'm not gonna have no peace. I'm like this, and deep down, and God used that desire. I'm like, I'm not called to do this.
So you felt like you felt like there was a door that wasn't closed yet.
I knew I wasn't walking in my purpose.
Okay.
And later, like I was showing me taking the loss, just everything I've gone through to this point was part of the purpose of what God has in my life. But when I was at that job, I'm like, and that's what made me want to box. I'm like, I at least got to give it one more shot. And if I lose, if I don't make it, okay, at least I tried. But that was the starting point of, man, let me.
So when you came back in 22, you came straight with Maori and Box Lab?
Yeah, they're the first ones to sign
Who was
me.
the first one you called?
Well,
So you wanted to get that team, that foundation.
And Willie, you've been there since that time?
I have been there since Coach Will and Tony started working together.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And how do you see him evolve as a man, as a fighter?
Well, Antonio, I mean, I've known Antonio for a while, just like, you know, Coach Joey mentioned. I've known Antonio since he was with Dan's boxing. Great coach. Antonio's always been humble, always a go-getter, always very strict with, you know, his regimen, you know, what he does in the ring, what he does out of the ring. You know, and then fast forward to, you know, starting with Coach Joel. As Joey mentioned earlier, Coach Joel doesn't play. You know, he tells you exactly what he wants, what to expect, and he expects you to walk that walk. And Antonio has been able to do that the whole time.
That was going to be my next question was, because I can picture him when you all sit here and want to have this conversation of coming back. He's probably saying, you're going to do it my way, you're going to do what I tell you to do, and if you don't like it, there's the door, right?
That's the way it is.
So Joel's your father-in-law, so you know, do you feel that gets cut when you walking through the gym doors? That's cut?
Coach.
nah, man, we've never had that. I've never seen that side of the world where, like, it's because I've always been disciplined as a fighter. Every coach I've worked with, they've never had issues with me. I've always been a fighter where it's like, hey, I give my 100% and my work speaks for itself. So I've never experienced that side with Joel before. We have a very good relationship. Like, he's like a father to me. I spend, you know, more time with him more than, you know, anybody else, you know, because like I said, I see him almost 7 days a week. He comes to the house, and like I said, my wife, she's always coming to the house, and we spend a lot of time together. We have good chemistry. But it's a very good relation we have as a you know, father-son type thing, but also as a coach and, you know, fighter too. So it's
Isn't that crazy how that circle works though?
yeah.
Like
yeah.
how you started with him, you guys went as far as you could, and sometimes breaks happen, right? Because sometimes we all have to learn about ourselves a little more, get more accountable, do those things, right? So isn't it kind of neat, that full circle that God put back on your plate and said, okay, if we're gonna go, we gotta go in this group right here. Right? We gotta make sure we have the right pieces, the right foundation to get to that next point, right? So now, I know you're a man of purpose, right? I'm gonna say these 3 names. Tell me what that is for you. Melanie, Grace, Israel. What's that to you?
Yeah, that's what I live for, man. Just my family, man. That's, as a man, it's like, you know, you look to build a family. And once you have children, man, that's a new level of love right there. That's something that they're so innocent and so pure. And as a husband, as a father, it just makes you want to train harder because everything's all the things that I didn't have in life, I want to be able to give it to my children, and all the bad things I want in life to experience, I want to be able to teach my children. Hey, man, life is hard sometimes, and don't let your defeats, you know,
Making you forward. Because I think when you get into that, me being on the outside and seeing that, I've got to watch you go from amateur to that pro, right? I think watching me, like you just said yourself, was I did have a lot of amateur stuff. I didn't realize that once we get into that pro side, they're going to adjust to that.
Yeah.
They're going to realize I'm jumping in, they're going to step back, they're going to throw something. What I've seen Willie and Coach Joel and the whole team do since then to now is your change of speed is the speed's still there, but now the power's coming different. Meaning like you're coming with your fast shot, blah, 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 and then here comes boom.
Yeah.
That's what you were missing.
Yeah.
From what I saw watching from the outside, right? So we go into this new rebirth of the career, right?
Oh, first I want to ask, how is it? How is the relationship with boxing, man? I know they treat you good, you know. I know you stay, they keep you kind of busy, man.
Nah, man.
Maury's an awesome guy, man. You know.
Eric and Omar, man. I remember the first time I met him when I walked in the office. It was, the atmosphere felt different. I didn't really know them at the time, but I'll never forget the atmosphere. It felt like they were family to me, and I barely knew them. And I do believe that, you know, it was in God's will for me to sign with them, man, because they're very good people. It's kind of hard to find, because at the end of the day,
they got you to the pinnacle, so you know.
yeah, they got me to where I'm at here, man. They've been building me up, you know, with the right fights and stuff like that. And
you ain't had no easy fights either. I mean,
No,
that's couple been.
Not one.
yeah.
Look, we're gonna strike on that, and I think that's a good question, because I think, like I said, to take a story and go, everything has to be fit like a puzzle.
You need the right
Right?
trainer,
So now you got the right
promoter.
team, right promoter. You got a wife who is a fighter.
Yeah.
How's that? Like,
Yeah.
I bet she's the first one. I remember hearing her yell at
So
him.
see, this is the, I wanted to ask this earlier, but you was talking, I didn't want to interrupt you. Like, come and listen. Again, I met you guys about 5-6 years ago, so you know, I don't know too much, but for what I hear, your wife, you know, she was a standout amateur, you know what I'm saying?
Hey, she has the hands, she still got
Listen,
hands.
for everybody that we know, you know, everybody was like, Antonio was the second fiddle to her, you know, because she was the man. How was that, man?
Man, from my line, it's good, man, because she's the first one to tell me how it is. Hey, you're not doing this right. You gotta, because she knows what it's like to be in the ring. She knows what it's like to be an athlete, to train. So she's the first person to be like, hey, man, like, you need to get together. You need to do this right, do that right, and she helps me, man. And I respect my wife so much.
I think that's so awesome.
Yeah, it's,
Because she's the first one to tell you.
Yeah, because I can hear her
Why you
yelling.
dropping your- why you dropping your hands? So now, diving in, you're getting that second run. Now we're rolling, right? We all, obviously the whole area of boxing, which is a small circle, so we're all tight. We get that, we find out. Jonathan and Antonio fight. Now everybody talking. We had a conversation, all of us had a conversation. I said, man, that's a 50-50 fight. They both got power.
I always said you.
I said they both had power. I said, but I felt Antonio had the speed difference, right? But I knew it was going to be a good fight. It was going to be, here's your moment to start showing the world that don't know, because you've been a pro since 2017, right? So that has kind of, you know, newer people don't know, right? So now this is your moment to where you're going to start showing everybody who you are, right? When that shot happened, you touched the mat. What's going through your head? Damn it!
So listen, I was in Puerto Rico that day and I was watching while I was shooting. I was watching the fly, like, oh, Antonio's a real dog, son.
Yeah. So what was going through their head?
I remember that moment very clearly, man, because me and Coach, though, we're talking about the fight. The only weapon that guy had was overhand right. And we trained specifically, hey, man, make sure you keep the left hand up. What happened was, that first round, I got overconfident. I didn't realize he was that slow. And that first round, I'm like, man, this guy, I'm gonna pick this guy apart. I could just tell from the moment I stepped in the ring with him, after that first minute, I'm like, okay, this guy's nowhere near my level. That last 10 seconds, in my mind, I'm like, because every time I hear the bell, 10 seconds, I'm like, okay, if I got the round, I'll be like, okay, you know. But I remember specifically, I won this round easy. I'm gonna go back to my corner, start walking towards my corner, and I'm gonna put my hand down, because he can't touch me.
Bro, and that's exactly what you did. You took a step out of the danger, thinking it's no danger, and he threw the haymaker. Clips it right here.
And when he hit me, I remember, I'm like, I got up and I smiled. I'm like, man, I gave that to him. He should have knocked me down. I gave that to him. I'm like, okay. And
how much did he yell at you coming back? Because not only that, now this is where it gets good, because it's a coach's perspective, right? I know we all teach because it's ego, right?
Composing themselves and going right back, it takes a lot. A lot of fighters can't do that.
Yeah, and then and the thing is, that's the first time I ever seen this kid angry though, you know. You can see the air, like, you know, you can tell you.
Well, the first thing I'm looking for, right?
This kid got some dog, you know, for real.
The first thing I'm looking for as a coach is to see, did we learn from the first time? Obviously, the first time was a little worse. What I mean by learning is, how do you respond when you come out? Because I think the anger wasn't, let me go out there and get them. It was, I'm better than that. Let me be more defense accountable, what we've all worked on, and go take care of business.
Smart.
Exactly. And that's what I saw, because when you came out,
yeah, it was a different, he was an
once you dropped it, that was game.
Yeah, it was an animal, yo. He was an animal.
Yeah, now, what I learned from that fight, two things. I learned overconfidence. I got overconfident in the first round. The second mistake I made, it wasn't, I was trying to knock him out. There's time, I watched the fight, I was so desperate to knock him out because he had dropped me, and I was angry. It wasn't an anger, but it was like every...
Oh, right. His whole composure, his demeanor was different coming out.
Every round, I was looking, I gotta knock this guy, I gotta knock him out. That was my mindset, and I'm like, my last fight, even when I got dropped, that was not my mindset. I learned that from that fight. Let me keep my composure, because
coming up from my follow-up.
Yeah.
So I learned that those are the two main things about being overconfident and sticking to the game plan, because we had a game plan. After I got dropped, that game plan, it kind of went out the window. I'm like, I gotta knock this guy. And I was so focused on doing that, and thank God he gave me the strength. God gave me the strength to knock this guy out. You know, TKO win, 7th round. And like I said, it happened.
And you still got yelled at by both of them, right?
Yeah.
But that's
good coaching. The wife was yelling at him.
But what I'm saying is, that's good coaching, because what a lot of people don't realize, that we work for plan A, B, and C, right? And I'm pretty sure after the knockdown, he's probably telling you, hey, we got to adjust a little bit, get your feet back under you, start setting it up again, and then working from there. You're like, no, I'm about to go take his head off. He just dropped me. We're about to go get it back. And you did, and you finished in a very good fashion. That was a huge fight, I think, that just pushed it, right? Yeah. Now we get into the next fight. That was a good fight.
With Winston? Yes, that was a real
good fight. But I called it from the beginning. Right after the first couple rounds, I said Antonio's going to catch his beat, and you were just countering too fast for him. Yeah. And then when you started touching him with them harder shots, that started being different. Then now, then you got caught again. And listen, I'm watching both fights now. I'm doing my homework and I'm watching the film, and both of them happen to be at a time just being. Well, no, it's more so like us coaches are probably going to say is you fell asleep just for a little bit, right? You just step back. Let your hand down again, came. Yeah. That same time when it happened, where you're just like, shit, here we go. Does it start becoming like, does this wake you up? Like, it's like a foot in the butt, and you're like, it's time to go.
My last fight, it was a little different in the sense where, you know, the previous fight when I fought Jonathan, that was more that I got overconfident. This fight, I was very aware this guy is going to look for the overhand. Right?
Okay.
So I trained specifically, hey man, make sure I'm keeping the hand up. I hadn't got his timing yet. When I dropped in the first round, I would just beat him to the punch, just faster, inside combination work. And that second round, I thought he was done throwing. Mm-hmm. So he had a rhythm, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
You caught.
So I'm catching. I thought he was done throwing. I opened up to counter. He was at the end of throwing his last shot, and just, it was a perfectly timed.
So it's one of them punches that just happened.
Yeah, I wouldn't say
it's
he timed it perfect.
You didn't see it coming. It's always the one you don't see that's gonna put you down.
Yeah, because I thought I got dropped with a hook, but it was an overhand right, and I was trying to catch and throw because I thought he was done throwing, and that was my timing. I didn't time that shot right. I opened myself up, and that's what allowed the shot to land. And that one, like when I got dropped with Jonathan, I was a little buzzed, but my legs was still strong.
Yeah, because you got up good. Your legs weren't shaky on that one.
But this last fight, I was seeing double, and my legs were gone. So the only thing
you played good poker face. We didn't see it.
I remember we was sitting there shooting, and we all looked at it. And he said, "Jesus, help me." Oh, he said certain to them effects, you know.
This is all I remember. I remember getting hit with the shot. I just remember falling, you know, being on the ground. When I'm on the floor, I'm like, Jesus, help me. I remember getting up. I remember the rep count. I remember like having no legs. And I just remember him coming at me, and I remember holding. The last 30 seconds of the fight, that was not me fighting. That was God intervened. I don't remember the last 30 seconds of that round.
Oh wow.
I don't even remember the last minute when I went to the store. I just remember getting up from the store and the was like, hey, it's even now. Make sure, you keep your hands up. Make sure, you get the rounds because it's even now.
But see, that's what a lot of coaches don't do, right? I think a lot of coaches are scared to tell the fighter the truth. Hey, listen, you're losing.
Yeah.
You need to pull your head out your butt. Start doing what you're capable of doing. And it's good to see that because that gives you that, yo, I gotta tighten up.
Right.
But look, you went to work.
How long after, you said you got up from the stool and, you said about a minute, but in that minute, because you still boxing, you didn't really hold too much after that,
Yeah,
before you came to your full senses.
That wasn't me fighting, man. Like I said, I could. After the fight, I took a quick testimony. After I got the win, I remember going to my room. I got on my knees and I'm just like, Lord, thank you, because the fear as a fighter, when you get dropped when you're hurt, I was scared when I got up. And the only thing I could, Jesus helped me, because the fear gripped me. And if God wouldn't intervene, I would have got stopped the second round. That was not me fighting that second round. Like I said, I don't remember the last. I just remember holding him. I went blank for 30 seconds. I don't remember nothing. That was not me fighting. And like I said, when I went to my room, I just got on my knees because I knew I knew God had gave me victory. He gave me strength. I got on my knees and I'm trying to pray and I can't pray. And the only thing I could do is just thank you, Lord. Like, you rescued me.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And two verses came to mind, which I believe God was speaking, is two verses in the Bible that says, when those that call upon the name of the Lord shall be delivered. I called on the name of Jesus, He delivered me. The second verse that came to my mind when I'm just on my knees thanking the Lord, He says, I am faithful to those that are faithful to me. I'm not perfect, but I'm faithful to God. I walk the walk. Everybody around me could see the light of Christ inside of me. And I seen another side of the faithfulness of God, man, because like I said, if He would intervene in that fight, I would have got stopped that second round. That was not
It's deep, man. It's really deep.
Yeah.
And your story it's just what boxing is, right? You got the whole perfect story when it started. Then you got that, like the losses in between the Olympic, and then you got that pro loss. And then you're in that deep place mentally. Yeah. But, everybody says let's walk by faith until it's time to really walk by faith.
Yeah.
Until it's really time for us to do that, everybody's second guessing, right? Going in, getting into that boxing side, and this is Willie, this is for you too, and Coach Joel, so you can answer, but this is going to be two-part for both of y'all. How's Antonio 2 weeks out from the fight? Where's he at mentally?
Like when you're gonna go, before you start cutting weight and everything, what's the mentality going into the last 2 weeks before the end of camp, should we say?
We're just focused, man. Like I said, the last 2 weeks, I'm letting my body recover. The last second week, we're just doing pads. Hey, this is what he's good at. Be aware, sharpening, the last tools and stuff like that. Staying sharp. The last week, I just rest and cut the weight. So I'm just mentally preparing myself. Okay, this happens. Plan A, Plan B, Plan C. Different outcomes. Because as a fighter, like I said, you can get dropped. You never know what's gonna happen, but you want to prepare. Hey, if I got to fight, if I got to box. So the 2 last weeks were basically going over these different scenarios of what could happen, and just to make the proper adjustments.
Yeah, because that's what pro fighting is. It's adjustments. Especially when you're getting in 8, 10, 12 round fights. You probably got 4 or 5 adjustments you're gonna make because that's what you're gonna have to keep doing to be able to win fight.
And you as a coach, how do you guys keep him on that?
To be honest with you, and not because Antonio's sitting here, but he's probably what every coach dream of as a boxer. He's his charisma number one, his attention to detail, his composure, everything that he does in the ring, everything that he does out of the ring. He knows when we got to cut weight, what he's got to do. He knows that if he's got to run at 5 o'clock in the morning, he's got to run at 5 o'clock in the morning. We don't have to tell, hey, did you run? Discipline. I mean, that's to us, and to any coach, that's a blessing to have somebody that's that disciplined. And it's a joy working with that person because they're more coaching and they listen. And when you tell them something, they act on it and they analyze it. At the same time, if we tell them to do this, he talks to us, hey, this is not, it's bothering me. So we talk about it as a team.
Yeah, because I think a lot of the people outside that are not in the boxing just don't understand that it's like a car. You got to tell us how that car is running in order for us to adjust it.
Correct.
And sometimes the fighter has to talk, hey man, I'm a little tired, I'm a little sore. You know, let's pull back on that, because at the end of the day, we're always gonna push, but it's a communication thing, right?
I think if I may just interject for a minute, I think, to me, we work as a team. And to me, a team is a group of people working together towards a common goal. And that has always been, the purpose of us. We're working towards a common goal, and it's been a blessing.
And I think that's for a lot of you young fighters to understand how important a team really is. A lot of people think coaches are replaceable, but in reality, a good voice can't be replaceable. Somebody that you trust, you can close your eyes and he can tell directions, Willie can say directions, and you can go out there and do what they're telling you because it becomes that trust, right? So now, is there any superstitious things that you have? I know a lot of us athletes, I know I did as an athlete, I wore a certain thing until I won or we lost or threw it away. What if people don't know that you do?
Nah, I don't have no superstitions. Like I said, my main thing is, putting my trust in God, making sure I honor God in my work.
Okay.
And like I said, my last fight, I seen God's faithfulness. Like I said, Willie was saying, as a fighter, I always give 100%. That's something that I've been since I was little. I've never had issues with any coaches. I give 100%, and I'm like, Lord, I just keep my relationship with God, and I just trust in God to deliver me. And that's how I see it. Just I put my trust in God, in the work He's called me to do, and then from there, whatever happens.
What's written is written.
What about you? Do you do anything as a coach? You got any?
Nah,
any rituals? Anything you do?
We pray.
I noticed that when I went to the gym the other day,
Yeah.
and I was interrupting you guys. I felt bad because I was getting ready to say bye to you guys, but I saw you guys were praying right before you guys started training. That's a common thing every day.
100%.
That's awesome.
Every day we pray before we start, training. We stay in touch. We share verse. We
That's
try
awesome, man.
to encourage the younger boxers coming up, with the right word. Listen,
You guys is always in fellowship.
100%.
Always in fellowship.
That's awesome. I think you guys are definitely leading by example.
I want to say this too, man, because a lot of people don't realize, like, this life we live is temporal. Like, like I said, there's a God as a creator. You look at creation, you see creation as a creator. That God came down in a human form as Jesus Christ of Nazareth to reveal Himself to us. So this life we have, man, everything we do in this life should be to get closer to our Creator, to Jesus, and whatever gifts, talents He's given us, like as a team, Dewell, Willie, me, we have different gifts. We come together. We what's the word?
Going like Voltron.
We serve one another with our different gifts, with different talent, and we use it to glorify Christ and to get closer to Christ. And I just want to say, every person that is listening to me, that should be your main goal in life. Pursue, build that relationship with Christ. He paid a price for us. He died when He shed His blood on the cross for our sins. And through Him we have life. And there is no life outside of Christ. So as a fighter, God has shown me the purpose of life very early in life. Pursue that relationship, that fellowship. Know who you created is Christ. Read your word. Start with the book of Matthew. And whatever gifts, talents He's given you, utilize them gifts to honor Him and to serve your fellow brother and sister in Christ.
I see so much comfortability when he talks. Like,
100%.
I feel like even out of boxing, I feel like, bro, you might have a different lane when you get done with boxing. I think you're gonna be doing a lot more things that God has planned for you.
When you get the call, hey, come to the office. When you get down there and you get the news, man. What goes on?
Because I got a call from him. I was winning the belt.
When I see, listen, how did I call you? Right?
Hey, did you notice that?
I was like, man, I was probably happier than you were. To be honest with you.
How was that phone call?
I wasn't, as a fighter, you wanna win it.
What would I say? So now, I swear to you,
Yeah.
he called me. Oh man, he wants to listen, bro. Knowing his coach and knowing the fighter you are, knowing Willie, seeing what you guys are, we want to win it one day.
We wanna win it.
Now, you're blessed and we're highly favored that you got that phone call. But I ain't earned that yet, right? And that's what I was telling him. I said, bro, I'm telling you, there's no way he's going to be grateful, but I know in his head, he ain't got it. And I know, if I'm being right, though, I know this one over here to the back of me is saying, hey, you ain't win shit. Put that to the side. We ain't get it.
Stay focused.
Stay focused. The goal's the goal, right?
Yeah, that's how I felt. I'm like, as a fighter, you literally fight for what you have.
Absolutely.
And no fighter wants to win a belt like that. Long story short, I was supposed to fight for the title.
I remember you saying
February last year. I was supposed to be a champion last year by February. some of the fighters over there, man, his name is Mr. Honda, the guy from Taiken. He's been giving Boxlab, man, some hard times, man. I was supposed to fight February of
I
last
remember
year,
you all telling, yeah.
and they just didn't want to fight. So
Scared.
they kept delaying. So my last fight, they made it an interim. So if they kept running, they're gonna strip them of the belt. They don't want to fight.
And it did.
It happened twice. I was supposed 2 times. They gave my Eric and Omar the word, hey, we're gonna fight. The time came, they gave a different opponent and brought surprise to Eric and Omari to me, and I'm like, man, these people they don't want to fight.
Yeah.
So
I mean, why would they?
Yeah.
You look like a machine the last fight.
Yeah. So and obviously, like I said, I didn't want to get the belt like that, but also I should have had it a long time ago. But this next fight, once I beat this guy, once I go to Japan, I feel war.
Yeah.
So you're still going to Japan to fight now?
I'm super
Absolutely.
yeah.
That's awesome. So pretty much he answered what I said. Nah, he fighter. He, because you didn't strike me to be that type of way. Like, nah, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm thankful, but
We ain't even carrying it yet.
Yeah.
The well, like, nah, put it away. We ain't carrying nothing until we get in there and we win it the way we want to win it.
It's just a title. Not a title, just a title.
And believe it or not, bro, people,
champion.
everybody kept saying it like, he's got to be happy. And I'm like, no, bro, when you're
Joey did say no.
I'm like, no, bro, I'm telling you, I know.
But you see somebody, there's a lot of fighters that win the belts like that. They be.
Now, business-wise, is it good? Yes.
It's a good, yes.
Does it bring, the fruits to fruition, which is the money? Absolutely. But I know deep down inside, as coaches and everybody that we're working for, that's not. We still got a plan, and that's not the plan. We're grateful. God put it there, but we know there's more, right?
There's
So
more, man.
that's definitely awesome because I did say that. By the way.
No, you really did.
That's how I felt, man. That's how I felt.
That's good. That goes to show me.
Nothing's given, everything is
Earned. Absolutely. Everybody want to be great, but nobody want to put the work in to do it, right?
Man, we're going over time here, man. I know these guys got to get to the gym and get to their own workout, man. I just got one question for each one of you.
What's that?
Give me your top 5 fighters all time.
Top fighters of all time.
What are you thinking now?
No, man, this is
Noel, you can tell me too, man.
Come over here, coach.
You can tell us too.
You tell me, so all time?
All time. It can be any weight too. It don't gotta be your weight.
any time period in time.
Okay, I'd say I like Ray Leonard.
Okay.
I like Ali.
Okay.
For now, man, I like Usyk right now.
Oh, okay.
He's
He's different.
Usyk, Lomachenko, man, his footwork is something special.
That's 4.
For he said for top 5.
Top 5. It's hard. I know there's a lot of good ones out there.
Man, yeah, you got a lot of up and coming young talent too. But,
What do you think of Bam?
Bam, he's good, man. He's what he did, when he won that title. Yeah.
The problem is that Joey has problems with people under 126.
Yeah, smaller guys, yeah.
So that's 4. Who that 5?
I said now, man. I like the guy, the monster, man. He's definitely.
Anyway.
He's definitely. What
Got a dream fight?
That's a dream fight for me, definitely.
Okay.
I say with the next.
Because
fight.
isn't his brother in your weight class too, though?
I was supposed to fight his brother.
That's who
the
you're
guy.
supposed to fight. That's
They didn't want to fight, yeah.
Yeah,
They
was
scared of that power, huh?
Yeah.
They want to try and get the older brother with you. Yeah, we're going to get you.
Willie, give me a.
What you got, Willie?
I want 5 top coaches.
Oh, coaches.
Now give me both. I want to hear 5 and both.
I'm gonna share that. I'm gonna share that with Coach Joel, but I'm gonna give you a few fighters, and then I'll invite Coach Joel to give you the same thing.
You don't gotta come up, Coach. Just yell it from back there.
Marvin Hagler,
Okay.
Trinidad, Lomachenko got again amazing footwork, amazing dedication. So I think that's definitely on my top
That's
list. Wilfredo Gomez.
Okay.
Currently, I think there's some great talent out there. I think Shakur Stevenson is a great all-around boxer.
Joey's favorite.
He's definitely Antonio Vargas.
Right.
Definitely, not because he's our boxer, but he definitely his dedication, like I said earlier, is a coach's dream to work with a person that's.
We know it's hard to find a guy that you ain't got to push.
And we running here short on time.
So real quick, Coach, you gonna name us your 5?
Coach, man.
Oh, he took out.
Coach took off.
Before we bounce off, I just want people to really understand what purpose really means. I think this man's career is a testament to what we all go through in life and what not to give up. I think it's a beautiful, beautiful gift that you have, man. I told somebody the other day, and I might have told it to you. You got people who want to be fan favorites. You got people who want to stand and be popular. But I told somebody the other day, so you know what I love about him? He means what he says, and he stands by what he really feels. And you're not scared to do it. And that's what the difference is that he's showing all you young kids how to lose with grace, how to take perseverance, how to believe in God, or whatever it is that you want to believe, but he's showing you what he believed in, and he's showing you that it came from actually believing. So my brother, I think that is such a beautiful gift that you're doing, man, and I think God's got a good place for you after you're done with boxing, brother. And we appreciate you coming out, Coach.
We appreciate you guys.
Really, I appreciate
you so
y'all.
much.
Thank you guys for stopping through, man. Listen, man, don't forget, Kareem Royale is going to be having, they're going to be hosting the World of Havoc boxing tournament. If you guys haven't registered to get in there, man. It's going to be an awesome tournament, man. You'll never know. You might see,
He might get an appearance.
You might see the champ, you might see the champ stop through, you know?
Coach's corner, we're out, man.
Kareem Royale is going to be having, they're going to be hosting the World of Havoc boxing tournament. If you guys haven't registered to get in there, man. It's going to be an awesome tournament, man. You'll never know. You might see,
He might get an appearance.
You might see the champ, you might see the champ stop through, you know?
Coach's corner, we're out, man.
Don't step up in that ring.